Make an impression to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom today, paradox related. We're joining up with paradoxes for the next probably couple weeks to coincide with the BU 365-day challenge. And today's paradox is, the more you try to impress people, the less impressed they'll be. So I grabbed the idiom to make an impression, researched that, found out it's from the mid-1600s, and it basically means to have or create a strong impact on someone or something, whether it's good or bad. Because guess what? Sometimes we make bad first impressions, like when we wear weird green glasses. So today, and as I was researching this, I found something called the 7-11 rule, and I thought it was really interesting. It states that within 7 seconds, you will leave people with 11 different impressions of you. Again, whether good or bad. And we never get a second chance to make that first impression. Our first impression always is our first impression. And once we make that first impression, if it isn't good, it's very challenging and difficult to change that. We'll have to try really, really hard and do a lot of things to change that first impression if we don't make the positive or the first impression that we want to make. Now, sometimes the impression we want to make isn't necessarily what the person wants to see or hear, and then that becomes a bad first impression. So what are some tips to make a good first impression? I'm going to take off these crazy sunglasses and share them. Number one, make eye contact. We need to make eye contact, and if we have glasses on, we're not making eye contact. So one of the best, most important ways to make a good first impression is when you're being introduced to somebody, shake their hand and look them in the eye. Firm handshake helps as well. Smile at people. People like people that smile at them. Have you ever come up and had a grumpy negative face, or you've met somebody that has a grumpy negative face and they just keep their grumpy negative face when they're meeting you? Kind of an impression does that leave you with? Maybe not the one that you want. Dress for the occasion. Be appropriately dressed for the situation or the occasion that you're in. If you're invited to a black tie event, you get a tuxedo, you dress in a fancy gown or dress or whatever appropriate for the occasion. If you show up in a gown to an event that isn't that stated to be that way, you can look foolish. Now, I say it's always better to be a little better dressed than worse dressed than the occasion, but that again is person specific. If you're Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs in the day, you can show up dressed however you want and nobody's going to say a word. Well, they might say a word, but you don't care. Number three, be authentic, be yourself. I don't know how many times we've talked about this, but definitely a lot in the last couple of years. People can see through, and they will not be impressed if they think you're just faking it. And guess what? Somebody who has already got or done or been there or created what you want to create absolutely can see through if you're faking it or not. Be a good communicator. Always be improving your communication skills. Use positive body language. Be open. Don't be all closed, shut down, looking at your watch. People know body language now. We're human beings. We've had however old we are to figure out what different body languages mean. And some is very off-putting and some is very accepting. And you have to choose what's right for the situation that you find yourself in. So positive body language. Be empathetic. Listen to what other people have to say. Do your research and do your homework and come prepared for whatever situation you're in. If you're going to a networking event, make sure you're prepared for that networking event. If you're going to a conference or a marketing event or whatever it might be, whatever type of event it is, a show, maybe a grand opening, make sure that you have a little knowledge. I remember doing interviews in corporate America, a lot of them, and for my own businesses. And you could tell in about 2 minutes whether the person had a clue what your job was about, what your company was about. And if they did zero research, guess what? They got 0 job offers because it showed that they didn't care one bit about the company and the organization and how they could be of value to it. All they cared about was themselves and a paycheck. And I never believe in hiring somebody who's just there for the money or just there for themselves, because they're not going to do a good job for you. And as soon as the next best thing comes along, they're going to be history and go on and move on to something else. And usually when I was hiring for a situation, it was a longer term, hey, we want you to come here and grow with the company. So be prepared, do your homework, read the room, right? Sometimes you'll show up at a party And what you're looking for is what you'll see, right? Or an event. What you're looking for is usually what we'll see. But be open to what is happening around the room and then behave accordingly. Use different types of listening. Some situations, some environments require different types of listening. Some require active listening, and others require that you just are there. I guess that's not the best type of situations to find yourself in, but sometimes we do. Be positive and ask open and closed-ended questions. Have a conversation with people. Be interested in the other people so that they will be interested in you. People are only interested in people that have an interest in them. That's probably one of the paradoxes that we're going to come across in the next few weeks. But I think these are all great tips. They're all just great tips to being an authentic, good human being. So if they come naturally for you, great. If they don't, start learning and practicing some of those things. Listening doesn't come naturally for me personally. I have to work hard at it and practice. And by being curious and interested in other people or in different situations, I find it really easy to listen and ask open-ended questions and be authentic and be curious and be engaged. And the more engaging and curious we are about people, the more curious they are about us. So I love this idiom. I love this expression. I love, make an impression, whether it's good or bad. And I guarantee I've done plenty of both, making bad impressions and good impressions. And if you really care about a situation, we always want to make a good impression, especially when we want to grow and build and supersize our businesses. All right, that's our idiom for today. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow with another paradoxical idiom. Have an awesome day.